Well, Morena, everyone. Welcome to this workshop, Digital Technology, Think and Act Digital, called Monica Briggs Tokuingua. My name's Monica Briggs. I'm the head of the Centre for Social Impact, and I'd like to welcome you all here this morning to the Kia Whiti Tonu series, which is a free programme of 90-minute workshops offered to the community sector by the Centre for Social Impact through support from Foundation North. The Kia Whiti Tonu series workshops was launched in November last year, responding to the needs identified by community organisations that participated in the COVID-19 impact survey that we ran with HUIA, Volunteering New Zealand and Philanthropy New Zealand. The introductory programme covered grant writing, marketing and communications, innovation, strategy and wellbeing that we ran through November and December last year. The workshops were really well attended, so we're delighted to announce a further series of free sessions being presented this year, and this digital one being the second in that offering. We're aiming to make all the sessions as accessible as possible. As this workshop was oversubscribed, we're recording it, and we're then making all of the recordings available from the CSI website for you to send out to colleagues and others that you feel it may be relevant and interesting for. At the end of the session today, we will be asking for a really short bit of feedback from you all via a survey link in the chat. It's really important for us if you could take 2 minutes to do that, because it helps us inform any future offerings so that we are meeting the needs as closely as we can to what you say that you want that will be helpful. The feedback from our last series helped inform these offerings that we're doing now. So we really want to make sure that we're being as effective as we can. Before I introduce our session, I'd like to ask you all, though, to take part in a real short poll. It's for those of you that have received funding from Foundation North in the last 2 years. It's a yes or no question, because Foundation North is supporting this series and they're interested to see how many of their grantees are accessing the workshop. So we'd really appreciate you just pressing the button. So we're just getting the results through now, which I think you all can see. So fairly evenly spread, actually. So that's wonderful. And like I say, it's just, we want to make these as accessible to as many people as possible. But it's a piece of information we give back to Foundation North. So today's workshop, Digital Technology, Think and Act Digital, is being presented by John Lau. John has a huge wealth of experience across digital technology with 18 years of experience across IT, agile project management and human-centered design. And that spans telcos, government agencies, not-for-profit and consultancy. John uses multidisciplinary human-centered design and agile delivery approach to help businesses and communities to innovate, problem solve and improve efficiency. So it's my absolute pleasure to hand over to John for what's going to be an interesting and incredibly information-packed session. So John, over to you.
Thank you. Kia ora no Maria, aho I noho ana aho ki tamaki mokaro, ko John Lau toka ingoa, no reira tēnā koutou, tēnā tatua koutou. It's been a real pleasure to be invited to be part of these initiatives, and my understanding from the conversations that I had with CSI is that this is the very first digital technology series, sessions of this particular series. So I just want to acknowledge Monica, Chloe, Amy, and Nagy for really helping to shape this up for me, and a bit of a backdrop as well. So this is my first ever webinar, so bear with me. And so everyone has been really, really supportive in that. And so the lens that I'm going to take for today is that I understand that there is a really diverse group of people who are participating in this particular session. So what I'm intending to do when I was really thinking about how do you take us through this particular session is to anchor on a particular real life example. So what I'm going to talk to you through today is going to use a real life example. So I currently volunteer for an organization, which is an arts festival organization called Documentary Edge, or short for Dog Edge. Some of you might know, but I'll talk a little bit more about that. So hopefully that will kind of create more relatable experience to you. And so as to start, a bit of a housekeeping is for most part of today, what we're going to do is, so you're on Zoom, we are going to just use the Zoom function, the chat function, sorry. Throughout the series, throughout the sessions, what we're going to do is I'm probably going to get you to type something just as a way of interacting so that I know where you're at. And especially in an instance whereby I know that there's an audience out there, but I feel like I'm talking to myself. So thank you for bearing with us. So as Monica said, I'm originally from Malaysia, from Borneo Island, and where the orangutans are. I've been in Aotearoa, New Zealand since 2000. For the last 18 years, mainly in the commercial sector, in IT, agile project management, human-centered design, mainly across telco and consultancy over the last 18 years. And so I've been volunteering for Dog Edge for 11 years, which is a not-for-profit organization, which is an arts and festival organization, which I'll talk to you about. What I'm doing currently is I'm currently running a free consultancy whereby I do a lot of workshop facilitation as well as problem solving for small and medium businesses, which is really the area that I really wanted to focus in. So, and at the same time, I'm doing my master's in Tech Futures with Tech Futures Lab, and my focus is on environmental and social sustainability using technology. So, awesome. Okay, so the next thing to talk about is what's the agenda for today. So just to kind of set some scene is that when we talk about digital, digital in itself is an ecosystem, and fundamentally the ecosystem, and this particular picture is really captured it very well. In the sense that there's a technology, channels, customers, strategy, and culture. So for the context of this particular session, we're only talking about technology. And so cultures and channels is probably going to do with a lot of things on marketing and comms. We probably touch a little bit, but by and large, we're really talking about technologies. We're not addressing some of the wider dimensions within the digital ecosystems. And so the intention here is to really introduce a few core online technologies or tools, which Dog Edge, which is the organizations that volunteer with, to hopefully relate to your organizations. And I'm going to also walk you through some examples of what we've been using as an organization. Now, I do want to call out an apology if I don't get to address all your specific needs. There could be some of the technologies that you know more than I do, and that's totally fantastic. What I really intend to get out of this sessions for you is just a very high level understanding and appreciations for digital technologies and the tools. And more importantly, I really want to challenge you to think about how ready you are with digital technologies for your organization. So towards the end of it, what we're going to do is give you a scorecard to actually make an assessment in terms of how ready you are in terms of digital readiness for your organization. So that's kind of set the context. Again, the background that we're going to take you through, some background understanding, some case studies, as well as I'm going to give you some resources, and then we're going to open up for Q&A. And like I mentioned earlier, for most part of today, all that you need to do is the chat function. So if you have any questions or whatever, just put them in the chat function so that we can address it as we go along. We may not be able to answer every questions, but we'll try our very best. Okay, to start with, on the Zoom chat, just so that we are confident the fact that you know where the Zoom chats are, share with us during 2020 COVID-19 pandemic, how has your organization shifted to using digital technology? So give me one example. How has your organization shifted to digital technologies in the light of the pandemic? If you can drop them in the chat so I can start seeing some responses. So for example, work remotely, Many more meetings are online. Yeah, fantastic. Deliver services through Microsoft Teams, more meetings online. MS Teams, yeah, it's fantastic. Zoom meetings, Zoom for workshop. Miro, fantastic. Community conversations online. Greater client connections through Facebook, that's awesome. Better comms to everyone. Cool, awesome. As you can see, from the chats, there is a lot of very common things here. Working remotely, more online meetings and whatnot, and that's just the natural part of digital technology. So this is fantastic, and as I can see that a lot of us are actually moving towards that platform. So I am going to just start to give you some really macro level in terms of what digital technology is, where is this coming from, and then we'll go from there. So a bit of the sort of background setting at the start. So if you look at this chart here today, we are now in the fourth industrial revolution, and that's really big. From a technology standpoint, that is really big. We have moved from industry 1 to 3. Industry 1 was really at the start where agricultural technology started in 1784. So that's kind of, sort of century. In fact, computers, automation, electronics is really in the 1960s, and that's when I remember, my university was in, in the 1990s, where I started having my first email and that sort of stuff. And that's really the start of ICT and information technologies. But where we are today, and this is really important to understand, is we, in a macro scale, and this is going to affect every single person on the entire planet. We are in Industry 4.0, and that's talking about connectedness. So on the right-hand side of the screen, this whole connectedness is making sure the systems talk to each other. And the way that we do that, two things. A, automation. So everything is looking across using automations to automate things. So there's a challenge there, because what does that mean for the skill sets or the labor force? There's a big shift around there. The other one is, what that means is that everything is going to be depending on data. And so you probably hear a lot of data-driven. Well, everything is data-driven. So the amount of data that is going to be generated out of these systems is going to be humongous. So the plus side of the data is, the intent is to democratize so that people will have access to information. And information is power. It turns into knowledge that will have your organizations to better serve your patrons or your customers from that perspective. But equally, there will be challenges around the issues of trust. Do you trust the data? And what about data sharing? What about data privacy? So, so that's a whole topic in itself in terms of data. And we're not going there. And just talking about some of the technologies that we are starting to head towards now. And so ICT is already embedded. Everyone has, and most of you will have mobile phones and computers and whatnot. And so a lot of the back-end technologies that you're interacting with, they're already pervasive in our day-to-day lives, are like IoT. That stands for Internet of Things. This is, sensors. And so, for example, a colleague of mine have got a mobile app that will actually turn the blinds and the windows on, from his office, for his house, and in the afternoon, because he knows that by the time you get home, the house will be warm. And that's using IoT sensors technologies, for example. For people who have, walk into the house and the lights automatically turn on, that's all on using sensors, and that's Internet of Things. Blockchain, you probably have heard things like Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're all part of blockchain, so it's all to do with digitally encrypt information so that it doesn't get tampered with. And that's going to be massive across ledgers, across, for example, passports are going to be using a lot of the blockchain technologies going forward as well. Image and facial recognition. So, for example, the auto gate at the airport, when you go through the it's strange talking about airport, but and as you go through the terminal at the customs, so that's facial recognition. The other one that is really big now going forward is digital humans, and that sounds a bit scary, but that is coming. In New Zealand, we have a couple of digital humans. I know that if I remember it correctly, Genesis is the energy sector is looking at using digital humans to interact with the customer. So this is beyond just chatbots. Yeah, and obviously drones and cloud computing. So the subject today is that we're going to talk about cloud computing. So just very quick slides on trend and insights. So McKinsey, which is one of the big consulting firm, and the key takeout for this particular slide is just to show you, where I highlighted in red, is that COVID really has accelerated digitization. Digital technologies obviously isn't new at all. We have been doing this for decades, except that the adoption rate has been very, very gradual. And all that COVID does is accelerate it by a number of years. And one of the top use cases in this instance is remote working or collaborating, which is what you alluded to earlier. Now, the news for you is that this is going to be the new normal. We're not going back, and we are in for the long haul. So, so that is. So, what does it mean in terms of the impact across technology, across the industry as a whole? There are a couple of them. So, for example, is the funding for digital initiatives has increased more than anything else, whether it is people in recruitment or the number of customers, but just the spending, the funding, the cost for digital initiatives has really shot up tremendously. A lot of the respondents in this survey has say that the technology strategic importance as a critical component of the business. So it's not just another nice to have or cost efficiency. So which means, and in other words, you're going to have to start thinking, or we as an industry need to start thinking and planning more proactively when we think about technologies. And the other thing is, obviously, these technologies is to serve your patrons or your customers. Even your customers, your patrons have moved dramatically towards online channels. So as an organization, we need to be able to respond to that. This one just came in this morning, and I felt like I really need to put it in there. Hybrid work is here, and that is going to be what's going to happen post-COVID-19. So we talk about remote working sort of solely. So there is a trend globally talking about hybrid work. So flexible work is here to stay. And so there's also a recognition that, and as you probably know, there will be more Zoom meetings and more online meetings. So high productivity is there, but the digital exhaustion is real and climbing. So that's to do with physical and mental health and all that. The challenge with this is teams become more silo, and that has been recognized in the fact because nothing can really replace sort of physical interaction. So teams can become more silo. That has been recognized, and I think there is a warning, for leaders in organizations to think clearly around the need for remote working. So I don't know what your organizational policies is regards to, what flexible working looks like, for your organizations. That's really culture for the company and all that. So 66% of leaders say companies considering redesigning the office space. 73% employees want flexible remote work options. And 67% employees want in-person work or collaboration post-pandemic. So I think that's really, really relevant. And so this is a report that is done by Global Microsoft. Just looking a little bit closer to home, I am part of the working groups with the New Zealand Tech Landscape. So New Zealand Tech is an alliance across technology organizations, and the vision is really to connect, promote, and advance tech ecosystems. So bringing together ecosystem organizations, people and policy for each other in a sense. So these are some of the highlights. One of the challenges at the moment is that New Zealand has not invested in the skills and innovations for a very, very long time. So that poses a massive challenge in terms of accessing people with that level of skills. And in fact, I was at a conference over the last week, is that in thinking of the pipeline of people who wants to do IT is only 0.5%. Across New Zealand, 17% of the people across students across New Zealand wanted to become either a sports person or mainly within the sports industry, whereas people who want to be part of digital technology, 0.5%. So we are going to have a massive skills labor shortage going forward if we don't address this in a systemic way. So just kind of a backdrop for you. And the digital inequality is particularly present, and most disadvantaged are women, Māori, and Pacifica. That's another statistics that we need to really address. And they, so at the moment, there are two massive initiatives going on at the national level. One of them is called the Digital Industry Transformation Plan. So that is currently addressing nationwide in terms of how we actually upskill and actually make New Zealand a digital nation. And the other one that I'm actually involving with is Tamaki Makaurau Open Strategy. And August last year, a whole bunch of industry people sort of come together to go, actually, what is the strategy for Auckland in the next 5 to 10 years? And one of the key pillars that has been identified was go hard on tech. So we are in the middle of actually co-designing a lot of that piece of work. And there's also other various other initiatives going on throughout New Zealand. Another insight, and this is more related to New Zealand and Australia not-for-profit. And as a couple of things, you know, that I really want to sort of draw up is the key findings. The 30% not-for-profits already had all the system needed, only 30%. So that's really low penetration rate. Now, this survey is done across 490 not-for-profit organizations across New Zealand and Australia. And so a couple of things that has been highlighted here is that the COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the ongoing technology challenges faced by not-for-profit to do two things. One is to be needing to deliver the service online. And number two is how do you support the staff and volunteers to work remotely? So I will be sharing some of these reports and sort of findings in the background for you. So that just to give you a lens in terms of the not-for-profit organization. What are some of the constraints? Again, for the not-for-profit sectors is some of the challenges is that historical not-for-profits have underinvested in digital technology, and obviously your spending is usually directed towards frontline service delivery, which is your core services. But we also need to think about using the right technology to drive your supporter engagement, staff to deliver service efficiently, and also how do you measure success and outcomes? So one of the challenges is that, has been identified is the government is looking for ways to reduce spending, and potentially traditional sources of funding are shifting. And I'll talk to you a little bit about that with Dog Edge, and where one of our biggest challenges with funding and then supporter engagement. This is your patrons and customers, and they increasingly wanted to see the impact on investment. Where does your money go to? Very quickly, something to reflect on post-COVID-19, this has been highlighted as well, is, in terms of three lenses: social impact, economic viability, and capacity to deliver. What do you want? Why do you do what you do? How do you fund what you do, and what supports what you do? So in terms of the biggest challenge here, again, this is the InfoExchange group. InfoExchange is three organization, TechSoup, InfoExchange, New Zealand, Australia, and Connecting Up, that form is the largest not-for-profit technology organization across Australia and New Zealand. And so top two challenges is what I can totally relate to: budget and funding, staff capacity and capability. Again, I will talk to you about that using the example. Some of the trends and insights in the last year, sort of emerging technologies. Apologies on the notes on the left, that shouldn't be there. And is the adoptions of mobile apps, and that's probably one of the biggest trends, that people are actually connecting through mobiles and web and whatnot. And there are things like assistive technologies, data analytics, and these are all within the sort of the core functions of cloud computing that people are actually using, which is amazing to see. Okay, the cloud. This one is, I'm going to stay really light on this. This particular diagram sort of kind of summarizes it really good for me, is that in terms of the structures of the digital technologies, you really have three layers. At the fundamental level, you have your infrastructure that consists of your broadband, your 4G, your 5G, which is upcoming, and your Wi-Fi. So that is your internet. It really enables you to do digital online. And then what are the devices that you can actually interact with the cloud? So your computers, your tablets, your mobile phones, today, even watches, obviously. And to interact online in a sense. But within the cloud, what is the cloud made of? So you hear things like, these words are used very interchangeably. So for example, the cloud, SaaS, or people say, oh, the platform, those are very interchangeable use. But in terms of the structure, the cloud provide three levels of services, what they call IaaS, and that's infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So by and large, what we consume today when we interact with the cloud are SaaS, which is your software as a service. So that's like Dropbox, MailChimp, Slack, LinkedIn, Spotify, Twitter, YouTube. They are all SaaS platforms. So sometimes people just say the platform. And so that is kind of the high level makeup in terms of the structure of the technology. You need fundamentally your broadband, so that's why your internet connection needs to be really, really solid in order for the device to connect to the cloud. So that's a very simple three-layer structure in this instance. And maybe just to highlight the pros and cons is the pros is that, there's a scale. And so the cloud is used as a shared platform. And so it's much cheaper. You basically pay by subscription in a sense. You don't have to buy the technologies or the applications in the back end. And also the organizations that are responsible for the cloud make sure that they always have up-to-date the next generation architecture set up ready. But the downside for some people is that you're locked into a service. So often you have subscriptions that you have to lock in for 12 months, for example. And we have the situation, for example, in Dockage, we only want to use Dropbox for 3 months a year for certain things. And so, for example, Dropbox have the ability, so you don't have to lock into a contract. That seems to be a very appealing ways of doing things now. But you don't have control and ownership to the design of and the implementations of the technologies we made, which for Doggage, for example, is not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing because we don't have to really think about technologies too much, so that they can concentrate on the reliability. I have to say that the technology has really improved so well. That reliability is generally pretty good. If you have recalled recently, I think it was last week, that Microsoft Teams and Microsoft SharePoint went down globally, and we couldn't access for a couple of hours in the day. So that's because the cloud has quote unquote broken somewhere in the, when they are trying to mention. So they are really just data center hosted somewhere. And so I'm going to skip the slide, just conscious of time. We're just going to, we talk a lot about that already. So case studies. So just talk about, we're going to spend the next half an hour just going through my experience as a volunteer for Doggage. So Doggage is an arts and film organization. So I'm doing a little bit of plug, and that's just talked to my director. He said, "Okay, let's make sure that you say this." And so we are currently in our 17th year, and we are going to run our 16th festival edition this coming June. And started with about 2 staff, and now we have probably around 4 full-time staff and a couple of contractors, but by and large, the way the organization has structured is interns and volunteers. They come in because the kind of work that we do is very seasonal, which means that we build up to the festival, which is usually around May, June, and July period, and then we dip and actually go to a sort of quieter period where the interns and volunteers, disappear in that time. And so there is a bit of an ebb and flow in terms of how this organization works. So just take you through what our digital journey is. So as I said, Doggies was born in 2004. I started volunteering for them back in 2009 because I realized what they have been doing is that because they are running film festival, and at any given time they are running anything up to 60 to 70 films. Pre-2010, every single film is one of these old-fashioned film reel. That one film reel is 20 kilograms. So if you are showing 60 films, you multiply that by 60 film reels. And then what happens is that they will be screening films across the country. So the logistics in terms of sending from overseas to New Zealand, and then domestically, that whole logistic cost was amazing. It was just staggering when I saw that. So what I did was, because of my tech background, I was starting to actually work for a post-production company. By 2010, I kind of understand how these whole things were. And also because the technology was a lot better and then cinema was starting to change into different ways of screening, I decided to go, actually, why don't we digitize the film? So I work with some technologies. We digitized the film. Long story short, between 2010 up to today, we have completely run the films in digital files, which is, you understand what files are. We completely reduced the logistics cost to almost 90%. So we can actually repurpose that money. So today we can screen using laptops. We can do mobile screening, for example. In 2016, this was really where we realized that cloud has an advantage for us. And we didn't want to invest in a lot of hardware because we don't have a dedicated IT person. So back then I had my full-time job. So I only go into office probably once in a while, or quite often it's like when I get a phone call to say, John, I have a problem. And that's where I sort of, showed up. And so the strategy was that we didn't want to invest in a lot of very expensive hardwares like servers and whatnot. And so cloud Office 365 at the time was really showing very promising signs of collaborations and communication. So we went into Office 365 and doing a very small part of the Office 365, mainly your Word documents, your Excel and your PowerPoint and that sort of stuff. And social media was really hot then. So everyone was jumping onto social media. So we started using Facebook, primarily again, Facebook, and then we also consolidate and refresh our website. So those are probably the big things that we've done. 2020 last year hit. Now we could not do physical festival, obviously. So we really, when the announcement was made in March, our festival was already scheduled to screen in Wellington and Auckland. In June, we thought we cannot do it. So it was either letting a whole bunch of people go and basically just shut down for the year. What we need to do then was we need to pivot. So we completely go online. So what we did was we moved everything very, very quickly within, your Zoom. So we moved to Zoom all of a sudden. We use Slack for communications with Office 365. We use Dropbox, every possible technologies at the time. So it was very reactive. And we also had our first remote internship. So we had an intern from France, and because he was doing video editing, it totally enables that way of working. So I was working with him at different time zone. He was able to produce, the videos and then just upload it. So that's really, really cool. And also what it means with the online festival, we're not restricted to Auckland and Wellington, and so it will be a nationwide access. So this year, we have learned a lot in 2020. What we're doing is that we are in the middle of the process of moving to a full online office. That will be our default mode. So any minute, if we go into a lockdown, we can totally function. I just did the first test run with the entire organization 2 weeks ago, and it seems that we can interact really quickly. So I felt like there was a tick for us. And the other thing, what the festival is going to do is we're going to run a hybrid festival. So which means we will have online festival, but we're also going to have, physical screenings in city, in Auckland and Wellington. In the event of a lockdown, the whole idea is that we will shut down physical and online still goes ahead. So that's kind of the overall strategy. So talking you through quickly some of the sort of basics here in terms of office basics, your collaborations and communication. So because there are so many tools and you could be ended up spending a lot of money in terms of subscribing to all sorts. So my first of all call when I was looking at solution, I was looking for a unified system. The more unified, the better it is, so that, I don't have to keep, what we call swivel chaired approach, which means that you turn from one applications to another applications to another application. So you end up having a zillion tabs open on your browser. I'm sure some of you will have a very similar experience in that. And so what we find that, and I see that a lot of people are using Teams in Microsoft Office, and Microsoft 365 offers a very compact, unified system. So for example, so I'm just going to go through, these are probably some of the core functions that we will use in the office on a day-to-day basis. Your Word, your spreadsheets, your slides. So Microsoft offers obviously Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and SharePoint. We are in the middle of actually consolidating all our customer database. Now, this is again a very similar trend across a lot of offices that you have zillions of spreadsheets everywhere of your databases that you collect. And so in the lights of digital technologies, we realize that we need a single source of truth. So currently we're going through the journey of investing in CRM. So we are going into Salesforce CRM to consolidate our database so it's easier for engagement with our patrons. And video and chats, and Zoom is probably by far the most popular, but Teams is equally powerful. And so we have now shifted from everything to Teams because it's part of Microsoft 365. I'll share an example in a minute. And chats as well, we can use Teams. And the other thing that in your office we used to do a lot during the physical days is we use a lot of physical Post-it notes. And so where we have shifted is using Miro, and some people use Mural. They are very similar and different subscription model. With Mural, FYI, you can actually get a free subscription if you are a not-for-profit organization. You can register as, I'm pretty sure that if you can supply evidence that you're a not-for-profit organizations, you can get Mural subscription for free. So the way that they work are very similar, very, very similar. So a couple of tips before I jump across is that, so the other benefits of using Microsoft 365 is you get 10 free business premium licenses. And that is really, really important for smaller organizations. So if you have less than 10 employees, and you want to have a very unified systems, and I highly recommend Microsoft 365. That's probably a little bit of a bias, but the advantage of having a unified systems is amazing. Google has got a similar offering as well. It's now called Google Workspace. It used to be called Google Suite. I think they offer discounted pricing. And now, in order to subscribe to any of these two offerings, either Microsoft or Google, you need to have a registered domain name. So if you need to get a domain name, you can buy them through the domain provider, like Domain NZ or Free Parking. And one thing that I will highly recommend is that you're no longer, what we are dealing with, remember I said earlier that everything is about connectedness going forward, which basically means that you're not dealing with a single device. Often you go, actually, I can deal with this myself. I can set this up myself. It often becomes a challenge. I started the process thinking I can do it myself, and so because of my tech background. But what I realized that because technology has grown so fast that I needed some help in terms of expertise. So I'm going to give you an example of a company that we use, which is recommended by TechSoup, which are absolutely amazing. They have been involved in the journey of transitioning us by consolidating all our different applications. So So just very quickly give you a quick example. So this is Microsoft Teams for those of you who have never used it before. And as I mentioned, so for those of you who are familiar with Teams, and you can see that you can use chat function on here. So this is what we've been doing in the organization. You can be anywhere with chatting, just like Slacks. And so Teams, this is really your files and folder structure. So we spend quite a bit of time designing this folder structure. So this is a real examples within Dogged. I've got the permissions to kind of, share with you in terms of what we've done. So these are all the folder structure in behind. So you can literally, for example, call Dogged bubbles. This is our internal Dogged bubble, general, and then files. Actually, do I have any files in here? Yeah, so I have some files in here. So you can drop your files in folders in here, and you can assign permissions for people to access this. And you can access your calendars, obviously, and you can send meeting invites out, and automatically it would append a Teams link for you to do video calls. So these are video calls that you can do. So instead of using Zoom. So all that I have to do when I get in first thing in the morning, I just have to look at this one single unified interface so that I don't have to keep swapping between Zoom and Slacks and all the other applications. So it makes my life a lot easier. And remember, if you have less than 10 employees, you can actually get 10 premium business licenses for free. And any additional, if I remember correctly, it's about $7 per month, so which is really not massive. So that's what we've been using. The other one I want to show you is Miro. So we spend a lot of time whiteboarding, as I mentioned. And so they almost sound the same, Miro and Miro. And so we're just in the middle of getting Miro, because I only found out recently that you can get a free subscription with Miro if you're a not-for-profit organization. Whereas Miro, I run my own company, so this is my own platform, but we've been using it for Dogged. So this is where I do a lot of work on here. So as part of designing our structure, this is what we've been doing. We've been co-designing on here. All you have to do is, for example, drag a post-it note. My computer might be a little bit slow. Drag a post-it notes, and you can just type in there. You can extend this as large as you want to, and you can move things around easy. All that means that I'm saving trees as well. I'm not cutting down any trees, without having to use with papers and inks and whatnot. And so we collaborated a lot on here, and everyone just been given the link, jumped straight in, and we started typing and we started co-designing. It's a really intuitive platform. I love this to bits. I spend most of the times facilitating my workshop through Zoom now. Through Miro in this instance. So so just to give you a bit of that context. Cybersecurity, now the New Zealand Tech, which I mentioned earlier, has called out the fact that we are not serious enough about security in New Zealand. In fact, some of the dollars you can see. So in Q3 2020 alone, 6.5 million direct financial loss in New Zealand alone, and 1 million financial loss in email attack in one quarter. And 56% of small businesses, they are attacked, will be attacked again. And interestingly, 66% of small businesses they are attacked made no changes even as a result of that. And there is a phenomenal increase in terms of growth in cyber attacks in New Zealand every quarter of the year. And I think, I don't know, I haven't really seen any sort of reports, that, why is it that we are not taking this seriously? What is it? Is it that we don't understand what the threats are, or I don't have any sort of data to provide. I was looking for that, but I really hope that at some point cybersecurity is something that we need to talk a lot more, and we need to actually add a lot more just because of the nature of connectedness. There is a nature of dealing with data sharing and privacy. So I just want to quickly demystify what are some of the most common cyber threats. So phishing is by far the #1 threats, and that is sending emails from a trusted email from a source to gain personal information. So one of the most common one recently that I personally have got is the text messages you get from somebody to say, please click this link because it's been sent by your bank. That's phishing. And but you know that is your bank does not send those kind of information. And then you often see on the website of the banks to say, hey, if you receive some spam or unsolicited source in terms of opening a link, don't open it. So that's phishing, and you can get it in the email as well. Click on the attachment, open this, and often they would take you, and you will be attacked in an instance. So phishing is by far the #1. My understanding is that 80% of the attacks happening in New Zealand and across the world are phishing. Credential stuffing, that's stealing credentials to gain unauthorized access. So this is probably self-explanatory. These are usually hackers in the back end trying to actually steal your information. That's why your password, please make sure that you change your passwords as regularly, and please make it as complex. I've seen some pretty shocking passwords, and I've done it in my life as well. Brute force, again, that is a trial and error approach. And again, the hackers will try to sort of brute force using trials and errors to guess what your password is. And the other one is malware. And these are more, embedding viruses into your applications and whatnot. And malware is probably much easier to deal with these days because a lot of the softwares are catching up with the updates and whatnot. So how do we protect to minimize risk? New Zealand Tech Alliance said, actually, interestingly, if you do a couple of these things, it would drop the risk by 85%. And if you can see that the top 3 has got nothing to do with application, it has got everything to do with the company culture or policy. So, for example, culture, what is your IT policies? And are you actually enforcing changing password regularly, or do you have strong password requirements? And the other one that I would highly recommend, some people find it a nuisance. A couple of guys at work at Doggish find this a nuisance, but we kind of enforce it, is the 2 or multi-factor authentication. So which means you get sent information whereby you have to use your mobile phone to authenticate yourself before you are let in. So I highly, highly recommend those digital identity, which we call multi-factor authentication or 2-factor. The other one is backup. What is your backup, your data backup of your organizations? Where do they sit? Are they backed up? Are they backed up regularly? In general, the industry recommend a 3-2-1 approach, and we haven't really adopted this, but I think for smaller organization, either by lack of trying, and sometimes we're just lazy, to be honest. And but there's something. The 3-2-1s say you need to have 3 types of backups. It's 2 copies of the offline data and 1 online regularly. So even to the point of 2 copies of offline data, they need to be offsite, so that if something happens to the office, whether the office get burned down or whatever, you're still able to retrieve your data. So within Dogedge, what we have done is that we have got 1 online backup, and I take another backup that I'll bring home. So I'll do a backup once a week. And so it's incremental backup. And the other one is patches. Now, often your applications, you get prompted to say, apply a certain patch. Microsoft will release certain patches, or Adobe will release a certain type of patches and whatnot. And I guess that will require some kind of an understanding of what those patches do, but by and large, they are usually safe to install. So incremental patches, make sure that you patch them. They are basically in response to any threats that have come. And obviously in the organization, make sure that you have your apps. These are antivirus, for example, Bitdefender and Norton are probably two of the most popular ones. And I think Bitdefender and Norton, you can get not-for-profit discount through TechSoup, which I will show you later on. So again, I'm going to double down a little bit on security. This is really important because in Dogedge, we have quite a few of this. And it's something that often we don't talk about. So I make a point to talk about this. So phishing, general rule is if you are suspicious, do not open emails or any text that is sent from unknown sources. That's just don't. If you are suspicious, don't. Sometimes what happens is you can actually, if it is sent through an email, often when you use your mouse, you hover over the email, it can tell you where the source is. If the source is not a trusted source, don't even open it, just delete them and send them to bin. And the other one is pay attention to the email headers, who are the senders. And so that would generally give you an idea whether or not if it is genuine. So phishing, again, like I mentioned, 80% of the attacks comes through phishing these days. If it is brute force, make sure you use complex password, set a limit on number of logging attempts, enable captures against automated attacks. So this is, you probably know captures by looking at screen and they ask you questions like out of these 9 blocks, which are identified as zebra crossings. So you highlight them. So those are captures. And again, multi-factor authentication. I would highly, highly recommend that. Again, credential stuffing talks about multi-factor login process. Again, that's a good one. If you've got an IT person, if there's anything suspicious, blacklist them. And one way, more dramatic way, is discontinue using the email addresses as an ID, which could be a bit of a challenge. One of the things that I do is if I need to subscribe to if I need to subscribe to some kind of newsletter and that does not require my personal email address, I often create a bogus one, and so that all the spams and everything goes to that particular email account, just so that I keep my my personal email address intact. So again, with a malware, just make sure that you've got them, you update them regularly. Accounting, so I'm not an accountant, so I have gone to my bookkeeper with Dogedge to ask her in terms of, we started using spreadsheets to start with, and what happens is that we moved to MYOB, and then now we have moved to Xero. And so I talked to Alison, our bookkeeper, to go, okay, what are some of the things that you have found working well for MYOB and what was well for Xero? So they're both now cloud-based technologies. MYOB at one stage was a desktop application based, which means that you have to install an application on your laptop in order to connect. And what that means, that there is an advantage for that, is that you can then have the database work locally on your laptop, and then when you're ready, you can sync it up to the cloud. So that was one way of looking at it. But now, because it's cloud-based, which basically means that with cloud-based on the desktop, you just have to bring out a browser. So your key thing is your browsers to connect to the cloud. Both of them has got very strong band feeds platforms, which means they integrate nicely to most of the major bands in New Zealand. So that's a tick for both. Payroll, obviously, there's an important features, and for Xero is the add-on feature. So if I think it's $10 for the first employee, and then every $1 for each additional employee. Whereas for MYOB is part of a standard package, depending where you subscribe to. And I think the lower package is only for one employee. If you need to pay for more than one employee, you have to upgrade the package. And inventory management apparently is not a strong thing for Xero. It is better for MYOB if you have a premium package like MYOB account rights. Online GST filing, they are both good. They can both do RD filing, whether it's 1, 2, or 6 monthly returns. Mobile apps, and this is probably one of the decision point in terms of why we switched to Xero, is that Xero has one app only, and you can do everything from creating bills, receipt uploads, bank reconciliations, and all that under one app. Whereas MYOB uses two different apps, depending on what you're using. And so we didn't want too many apps overload on the mobile. Both of them have got online and email support platform, and so pricing, they are pretty much comparable. And so that's in accounting. Talk a little bit about marketing. I know that Suzanne previously had a webinar around marketing, so I'm not going to labor too much on this. But where we are starting to address is the next two slides. One is marketing, the other one is donation. These are really addressing your front end users in terms of, you're really interacting with your patrons now. So marketing, obviously you have a traditional marketing that will be a posters, flyers, booklets, DLEs, which is what we use, and the old billboards. Then your digital online will be your website, your mobile apps, again, email, social media, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, even blogging. And for our film festival, for example, we rely a lot on user feedback as a way to actually promote the films and stuff. So blogging becomes actually a very powerful tool to share stories. SEO and AdWords, and I think somebody called out that Google Ads grant for nonprofits, you are entitled to in-kind up to 10,000 USD worth of AdWords from Google. I'll talk to you through where you can actually get them later on as well. And then there are other digital medias. I know the company like QMS and most of the AFP and whatnot, they're starting to do digital billboards. You see them dotted around the cities, and they're literally just feeds from the back end, from the cloud directly onto the digital billboard. So for our festival, for example, we're probably doing a combination. So it's a hybrid. Again, some things are more digital, and something digital tends to be more targeted. Traditional posters more kind of sort of general populace in that sense. So if you're interested particularly in the marketing side of the webinar, and Suzanne had a previous seminar, so when I share this pack with you later on, that previous webinar here, this is actually a link that you can actually click through. And she wants to also call out, she's doing a webinar on working with the media, and the context is what is news, what is good news, what is bad news, and how do you maintain the relationship with the media. So somebody just called out that pay sources of payroll software that syncs with Xero and is free for not-for-profit. So there you go, pay source, and it's not some an applications I'm very familiar with. So thank you, Andrew. Okay, so that's marketing. Now, in terms of donation, again, we, as an organizations, a lot of our funding, obviously, in terms of giving from our donors, predominantly, we don't run massive donation campaigns today. Often we rely on box office sales because they come to watch the films, and some of the proceeds go into our operating budgets and whatnot. But we do run donor bots. So I'll share you in a minute. But in general, the makeup is that you have a platform that you actually click to donate, whether it is a single donate or is a crowdsourcing platform like Give a Little, which I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with. GoFundMe, our Kickstarters are just some of the generic one. And often the payment gateway in the back end, Stripe and PayPal are very similar. Most of you will know PayPal, and Stripe is just another competitor. And we use Stripe in the back end because the processing fee is much cheaper. That is the reason why we've gone with Stripe. And they take a little cut, clip a ticket out of that. Obviously your credit cards, or you can use your business bank account. So I'm just going to show you very quickly what we do with the Dogage website in terms of donate. And I am also going to, in a minute, show you donor box. I think it's worth, it's really, really cool. And oh, not that one. Bear with me for it. Okay, Okay, so this is Dog Edge website. We're going to be featuring a couple of documentaries on yachting. And so anyway, so that's the donate button. So when you click your donate button, it's a very simple, as you can see bottom here, it's powered by DonorBots. So for us, we set up what the amount is and you choose the amount and click on next. So let's say 250. Click on next and put in your information. So let's say my name, and then click on next. And then you can pay with your credit card, for example. So that's your capture, and then donate one time online. And that's it. It's really, really simple. And the best part is the setup fee is free. And so I will show you a little bit around DonorBots, just the offering as this was highly recommended to us. So we started using DonorBots probably for over a year now. And so you can basically, so in terms of pricing, so no setup fees, no monthly fees, no contracts. So what they do is they take the processing fees. With Stripe is 2.9%. PayPal is 2.2%. Oh, that price has probably gone down for PayPal. It used to be that the Stripe's percentage was much, much lower. So that looks like it has changed. That was the reason why we went to Stripe. So it looks like they made a change. So again, in terms of pricing table, so if your donations is 500, DonorBots takes 7.5 and Stripe PayPal approximately 14.5. So that's just give you an idea. So the other one that I was going to show you is fundraising solution. So there are different ways that see that. Okay, so different features. You can either use DonorBots for crowdfunding. You can also use it for text to give, so which means you text using mobile phone to actually donate. That's one way of doing it. Donor management is what we've been doing, what we've just shown you, and then recurring donations. So that's your regular sort of donate. So I don't know if anyone has used any other donation platforms, please feel free to share, but we have found this particularly easy from a patron's point of view to actually just click and went on it. Okay, so the time now is 11. We've got half an hour. So what I'm going to take you through is probably just 10 minutes in terms of going through some of the resources that I have gathered to share with you. And that you can actually hopefully take away with you in a sense. And obviously, at the end of this seminar, you are going to actually have all these resources plus whatever. Somebody just commented to say, Susan say we go directly through PayPal, so only have the PayPal fees. Okay, that's one way of doing it. Also free for donations. Thanks, Sandra. Hello, Sandra. So there are a couple of resources there. So we will make sure that we share some of the learnings that we have on the chats with you as well, so we can collate that together. Sophie mentioned that DonorBots can link to Salesforce to capture customer data. Absolutely right, and that's why we're using Salesforce. So we look at our entire ecosystem. We know that Salesforce has got a beautiful integrations with a lot of the applications. Okay, cool. Can I just quickly get an idea? Does anyone on the panel here? Oh no, the attendees here. Does anyone utilize TechSoup? Just go yes or no. Does anyone use TechSoup? Do you know TechSoup? Is that a yes? Not yet. Yes. Yes. No. That's a lot of yes. No. Oh, got quite a few no. There's a lot of no. Not much. Heard of it? No. No. But it's expensive. Interesting. No. Okay. So I'd like to encourage you, maybe expensive. Okay, I'm interested to know why that is expensive. It could be offline conversations, but probably not now. transfer-wise, Sandra said, I also want to mention something else in the financial space. If you're working with other currency, transfer-wise. Okay, so if you're using, other currencies as well. Oh, by the way, just in terms of currency, Xero is about to launch multi-currencies within Xero as well. So my bookkeeper has just mentioned it to me, so so you can calculate that. Cool, awesome. So I have got some of these already for you here. So let's just talk about TechSoup. So we actually use TechSoup a lot. So it'd be interesting to hear why you think that is expensive. If anything, a lot of what DogEdge does is we have gone through TechSoup, and they've recently just changed the website. So I was having a little bit of a hard time trying to navigate this yesterday. So there's product catalog. So just to give you an idea, they have things like hardware. You can actually buy refurbished computer accessories, desktops and laptops. For example, supposedly they're actually much cheaper. Obviously, you're not paying thousands of dollars for this, and they seems to work well. And I haven't actually used bought anything hardware from TechSoup, partly because a lot of the stuff that I buy, we I think coming from a tech background, my approach with DogEdge is that when I know that we are constrained with the funds and whatnot, where we can, we try not to buy cheap, and not expensive either, but cheap, because the amount of headaches that I have, it's because we don't have a dedicated IT person. So often I get this call in the middle of me running a workshop and go, oh, something is wrong with my computer. What can I do? So completely disrupt the day-to-day job in a sense. So so after a few tests and learn in terms of the model, in terms of the age of the computer, we've decided as a company policy, we will always buy new if we can, only if we can, and depending what we're using it for. If we are doing something that is really heavy processing, so for example, we're doing a lot of work in art, Adobe and whatnot, then we go, okay, it needs to be a newer machines to actually cater for that. And the other thing, in terms of branding, it does have an impact, and I will by default tend to go toward Hewlett Packard, HP. The second one I will go for is Lenovo. Anything else, I just find it. I have real trouble with Toshiba laptops. I have real trouble with Asus personally. And in terms of, and not only thinking around whether or not I can support it is, but what's the level of support I can get from these providers or these brand providers. I find that by far HP and Lenovo are the better ones. And what we did is that, I don't know who your providers are. If you don't have a go-to, we recently signed up with PB Tech. They are actually one of the larger ones, and they can do not-for-profit deals as well. So if you need information around it, feel free to reach out to me. I can help to connect you with those people as well. So we've just done a massive purchase. So 2021, we really doubled down on our IT investment. And because we know that is going to, so our default in terms of the organization, we have consciously and decidedly go with online as our default. Everything we do needs to be able to fundamentally operate fully online before physical. So anything happens, we can do them remotely anywhere, but hybrid is probably the way to go going forward. There's a question here. Any tip regarding Windows computers or Apple? I find Apple seems better for security. Depending on what you mean by security, Sandra. But in terms of friendliness, in terms of proprietary, everything is within the control of Apple. So it's easy to find information. It's easy to work, quote unquote, the Apple way. So which means that if you're Apple-centric, it will be more reliable to virus, junk, email, etc. See, Apple is just a brand, so your virus and junk email, if you are loading Microsoft products on an Apple computer, the level of risk is exactly the same than you loading a Microsoft on the Windows PC. There is no difference. But I think if you're talking about patches for the operating system between Windows and Apple, then Apple is slightly better. They roll out their patches much fewer than Windows constantly, because they have so many open source apps and whatnot. So you're constantly getting patches and updates but if you're talking about virus and junk email in terms of how you process junk emails and spam emails, that really depends on what emails you're using, for example, and what kind of malware or antivirus software that you're using. Anyway, very quickly, also have brand new ones. Going back to TechSoup, they have refurbished ones. They've also, I'm noticing they're increasing the number of hardware now. But where it is really, really efficient for dog edge is their all these softwares. We've bought them very, very cheaply. For example, Office Standard, including software assurance in the market, you have to buy them by the hundreds. So we're paying $57 excluding GST, for example. And so we have saved a lot of money in software licensing through TechSoup. So if you are not on TechSoup and you need any of this software, so for example, Adobe, I don't know how much people pay for Adobe, but for our festival, so this is where I was trying to relate to. What's happening is that because we were trying to cut corners, we were trying to save money, obviously. And one of the challenge with cloud is that you get locked in. Adobe is one of those, you can't break the 12 months contract. And we only need Adobe for 3 months of the year. Because that's our heavy seasons to actually create marketing campaigns, videos and images, for the film festival. And the rest of the times we don't use it. So if you don't use it, I don't have to pay for it. That was the ideal. But unfortunately, that isn't the case for Adobe. And but what's happening now is that if you are a commercial company, your subscription, so everything is cloud-based, you pay subscription, is around $47, starting with $47 times 12 months, whatever that amount to. And but with a not-for-profit organization, if you're a heavy user for Adobe, you can get them for $600 a year. So that is a massive discount, from that sense. What do they do for Apple? Okay, they even started dishing out Apple MacBook, which I've not seen before. So antivirus software, Big Defender is by far one of the best. Norton as well. They used to do Norton. I think they have Norton here as well. So you can either get it for one device, or you can get it as an organization that usually you buy the software and then you pay the license model. So so have a chat to TechSoup. The other one is Microsoft, obviously. So, like I mentioned, you can also buy Microsoft applications and install it locally on your laptop. What we did is we subscribed to Microsoft 365. So again, you have the 10 business premium licenses. So which basically means that you can download the apps online and install it. So they will just sync beautifully, very, very easily. So you can hang on. What I was trying to say is there is a URL in the earlier slides where you can click through. It's got a direct link to the information with regards to the 10 licenses for free, and similarly for Google as well. And I am trying to see where you can get Google Ad Grants. So for those of you in the not-for-profit space, not-for-profit, you can get Google grants for qualified charities and not-for-profit up to 10,000 worth of in-kind advertising per month. I highly, highly recommend this. So this is something that we are working through this for this year. For some reason, we fell last year, and we found what the reason was for dogging. So we are in the middle of applying for this year, because 10,000 worth of Google advertising is amazing. I mean, this is literally for free. And other things that could be handy in the product is donor and funding management. I'm not familiar with some of these, but they do have some sort of little green, not something I'm very, very familiar with in a sense. Like I said, we use donor bots, and it really suits us in that instance. So that's just TechSoup. The other one that I wanted to share with you is Digital Boost. Okay. Digital Boost, I don't know whether or not if you probably heard so this is a new initiative by MB, initiatives between MB and the Mind Lab. And so it's only started a couple of months ago. And so they are really doing things like free education and browse courses, for example, digital tools, how you build websites, digital marketing, even accounting, customer insights and business growth, and future technology. So they're really just starting. So I know the people who are behind this, so currently they're building contents. So the whole idea is that this particular educational website is really for small, medium organizations, and will give you tons and tons of information. What you need to sign up for Digital Boost is you need your NZBN number. And that's all you need to make sure that, and for charities, yeah, you have your NZBN number as well. So you need that in order to sign up for this. And so maybe just quickly play this.
Hey, my name's JD, and welcome to Digital Boost. It's called Boost because it'll help you to understand how and why you should boost your business by going digital. Now you know it, and I know it. The world of business has turned digital, and it's now that critical moment in time when you have to bite the bullet and get your head around the best way to sell, attract customers, and carry out your day-to-day tasks, even if it all seems complicated at first. So, if you're ready to go, or even just curious enough to dip your toes in, you come to the right place. Digital Boost is here to teach you all you need to know to take on 2021 like a pro. We'll guide you every step of the way on topics such as building a website, advertising online, and using social media. Now, the vast array of online courses and resources will give you the know-how to turn your digital aspirations into concrete actions. And while you're out there upskilling, just remember, you're not alone. Thousands of small business owners from across Aotearoa are also embarking on their own digital journey, right alongside you. So simply click the Sign Up Now button to learn what it takes to run a successful and sustainable business in 2021 and beyond. And did I mention it's free, fun, and can be accessed at any time from anywhere? Well, I just did. See you online.
So that's Digital Boost for you. And obviously, the other one I also wanted to mention in the in TechSoup, they also have a whole bunch of webinars and workshops as well. Digital marketing was probably one of the big ones, and they often do multi-days sort of workshops and things like that. Now, there are two levels to that membership. One of them is free to actually sign up, but if you pay, I think it was $450, a couple of $100 a year, you are upgraded to a premium, and premium means that you can actually go to a lot of these webinars for free. Otherwise, usually is, pay by seat. So it's like, and it's really, really cheap, $30 for a seminar or $40 for a seminar. So instead of actually dishing out hundreds and $100. Last but not least, in terms of education, don't forget that you've got a seminar run by CSI itself. So there's a whole bunch of seminars and series that will be coming out as part of this KFUT series. So yeah. Then the next thing is, so I know that one of the biggest challenge for us is getting IT support, and that is becoming more and more critical. And the company that has been recognized, so we reach out to TechSoup. So I am in regular conversation with TechSoup because I find them really, really helpful in some ways. in terms of just bouncing ideas and whatnot. So friends with them on LinkedIn and just to see what's coming out. And in some ways really wanted to shape some influence in terms of providing, more stuff for not-for-profit organizations. So highly recommend it if you could go to TechSoup, that would be fantastic. IT team. So the IT team is whom we use in terms of our process, in terms of our digital journey, in a sense. So they are based in Christchurch, Auckland, and I can't remember what other cities. But more importantly, I have done this journey with them completely remotely. So other than hardware is a little bit hard for them to actually fix, in a sense. They provide IT services remotely. So antivirus, we were moving now completely going online across all our system, how we unify things together. IT team, their head office is based in Christchurch. So highly recommended, very, very knowledgeable. And they are very pro Microsoft. So if you're looking at moving into the Microsoft world, and they're very big into IT maintenance and whatnot, making sure that they have this plan called the stretch plan and the big plan. The stretch plan is like the basic, they give you a certain level of services, you pay a minimum amount. Then you have the I think it's called the big plan, if I recall it correctly. They will give you the full suite of services, and it's like $40 per user type of, relatively cheap. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is that the need of using an IT support, whether or not you're looking to learn and upskill yourself and support internally, or is it that you're going to actually reach out to an external or outsource your IT, that's something to really consider. And as well, and totally acknowledge the fact that there is a funding challenge here, because most of the times that when we apply for fundings, we really apply for the core service delivery, but all these other capability in terms of digital becomes very paramount. And we just had a conversation with Monica earlier in terms of how we do that, in terms of are our funders now geared to fund us from a digital capabilities point of view? I think that could potentially be a gap in how do we sort of navigate around that, but we will talk about that sort of shortly. Last but not least is acumenacademy.org. Highly recommend. This is a global academy that I have been doing so many courses on there. I have a big thing so this is an academy for social impact, and a lot of the courses are free, and you are actually doing courses collaboratively within the team globally. And so I've been doing a couple of courses. So for example, the free ones will be things like design for environmental sustainability, adaptive leadership, social entrepreneurship, social impact analysis, story for change, non-profit fundraising essentials. So for example, once you enroll, what you will learn, give you some learning outcomes, then you will be taken into a portal, and the portal will have participants from all over the world, and then you kind of coordinate it and talk among themselves. And we set ourselves into a team of 5 and 6, and often time zone. And so I've been working with other learners from Australia, Brazil, and Spain and then we will set up our little cadence, and they will give you standard structure and give you reading materials and workbooks for you to work through. Often it's 6 weeks long, and in terms of getting through, this is really, really fantastic. I absolutely love it. I'm doing one course on lean data approaches at the moment. How do we measure success using a lean method? Yeah. So that's probably coming to the end of it. The key takeaway here is your digital readiness for your organization. So a couple of takeaways for me is, because I'm also a design thinker, I am really advocating for the fact that because digital technology is already in our lives and will be far more greater than we would ever imagine. So what we're saying is that we definitely need to think and act digital. And so we have to proactively plan for tech, whether it's your budget, whether it's your skills or your culture across the organization. But just a caution, technology does not solve everything. There is a wider ecosystem. So I mentioned early on that, technologies is one part of the ecosystem. And really, my caution is that the technology is really your enabler. The way to approach technology in the experiences that I have in the last 18 years is that really reflect and think of the problems or the need that you need to solve first. Who are you solving for? And what's the need that you're solving for? And then whether or not technology is the right solution or the right fit for it. So technology is really an enabler. Design thinking talks about the three lenses, people, tech, and business. And what we're saying is that we always need to start from the people lens. Who are we solving for? What are their needs? What are we solving for? So, highly, sort of, taking that particular lens, think of what problems are you to solve first before you think about technology. The one thing that we're not going to run away from is the fact that people in your organizations are likely going to need to learn and adopt technologies. There is no two ways about it, because we're going to have to work using digital technologies. And one other last one is approach a tech specialist if you need to. And Sandra has just called out that there is another website called Mind Tools, lots of free content for soft skills and cultural development. By the way, just to call out that, Sandra does a lot of work on the future of work. So if you're interested, feel free to reach out to her. What does future of work means? And she's doing some amazing things in that space. So awesome, Sandra, just want to do a call out. So in that space. We are 4 minutes. Okay, I thought that we have a bit of time. But what I want you to take away for you to do is the digital ecosystem scorecard. I was really mulling over this in terms of how we're going to do this, is what kind of kit I'm going to give it to you. And if I give you a list of tools, it really doesn't make sense that I just mentioned that the fact that, technologies is only there to be an enabler. Is really to look at your organization and go, actually, what do we need? Where are we at when it comes to digital technology? So I didn't want to take a lens of giving you a set of tools. Do you have this tool? Do you have that tools? Because they may not be fit for purpose. And so what we're going to do is, so I have collated these things that you can actually make a copy of. This is not scientific. This is something that I've taken from the not-for-profit organization. So the Info Exchange Group, they have these, 6 key areas. Just looking at these 6 key areas and really look at where is your organization in digital technology and do a score. So I just done an example. So you can actually, so my recommendation is you get the link for this, or we can send you a spreadsheet copy. And just really looking at the scale between 1 to 10. So for example, IT management, are you, so on the scale on 1 to 10, are you at the very basic, you have no IT plan, you're really ad hoc and you're really reactive. And then in the most advanced end, you are really clear, you have a very compelling ICT visions that align with the organization vision, mission, and goals, and you're reaping the benefits of maximum impact. And so think of yourself in your organization. If you have a score between 1 and 10, where do you sit? So I make it, make this up and say 5. So you take it through the 6 different areas. So tech, in terms of infrastructure, what's your internet like? What's your computers like? Information systems, are you doing paper-based? Do you have lots of Excel spreadsheets lying around? And online presence, no social media presence, and very basic setting website on one end, or you are having a very sophisticated ecosystem. So for example, skills and culture, staff are uncomfortable, or staff are innovators, security and risk, we'll worry about it when it happens. This is probably 66% of the defaults. Or you actually have a very practical ICT disaster recovery. I think what would be really good is for you to just use the 6 questions to get an idea in terms of where you're at. So if you are sitting at your total score is less than 20, then I'm going to say you've got a lot of work to do. And so up to and then once you have an idea of where your rough score is, what will be helpful, then you go, okay, where do I have to move towards? Okay, we're not asking for perfection, there's going to be a journey and there'll be challenges and whatnot. So I think this will give you the whole ecosystem assessment in terms of where your organization is at. I really hope that helps. So that's it from me. Well, literally 1 minute to the dot. So like I mentioned, actually, let me go back to the slide. Key thing is disruption by design, innovation by necessity. I really helped us. I really love this quote. It's kind of my mantra. But you can connect me at john@synopsys.nz. So that's my company, and to feel free to connect with me. I'd be more than happy to answer questions and whatnot. But just before we go, we'll be compiling a whole bunch of resources, including the assessment checklist for you guys to take away, so that will come through to a marketing channel, I believe, your EDMs, and also there will be a survey. Please rate this survey, and most of all, I just wanted to say a big thank you for bearing with me. It's my first webinar, so I'm enjoying it. I know that I can't see you, but I really am very appreciative of the fact that you interact so much on the chats to give me a sense of knowing where things are. So it really gives me the energy. And thank you once again to Monica and the team in CSI for giving me this opportunity. I really enjoyed it. So on that note, is there anything else, Amy or Monica?
Kia ora, John. I think that was packed with information, and we will be sending out the kete to everybody who registered and joined us online today, as well as, compiling some of the fantastic resources people have themselves posted into the chat column. So all good.
Okay, cool, awesome. Well, on that note, ka kite anō, and I'll be back again in another session with you lot. Thank you very much.